Alright, so this next video is still on rounding, but this time we're going to round to the nearest hundred. And you can do that again with the poem, and you can do it with the number line. The poem is find the place, look next door, 5 or bigger, add 1 more, 4 or less, let it rest. Okay, so let's round the number 249. We're going to round that to the nearest hundred. So I'm going to find my place, circle the 2, look next door to the 4. Poem then says 5 or more, add 1 more. 5 or bigger, add 1 more. 4 or less, let it rest. Since this is a 4, the 2 stays the same, and the 4 and the 9 change to zeros. Now I can do the number line as well with this. So I'm going to do a number line, just like I did with the rounding to the nearest 10. And I'm going to draw 3 points, just like I did with the rounding to the nearest 10. Instead of asking myself what 2 tens does this fall between, this time, since we're rounding to the nearest hundreds, we're going to ask, well, what 2 hundreds does this fall between? So 249 falls between 200 and 300. The halfway point is 250. And then we want to plot our number. 249 will go right there, close to 250. Now we look at ourselves, or we ask ourselves, well, does this look like it's going to round up to 300, or does it look like it's going to round down to 200? And by looking at it, it is closer to 200, so it will actually round down to 200. All right, so let's see if I can do another one here. I'm going to erase all lines. All right, this time I'm going to use round to the nearest hundred using a 2-digit number. And to do that, let's see, I want to use the number 78. All right, so this one's a little special because it's a 2-digit number. We don't have a number in the hundreds place. So I'm going to put an invisible 0 in the hundreds place. So we're going to find the place, which would be that invisible 0, and then look next door at the 7. The 7 is telling the 0, the invisible one, to add 1 more. So I'm going to add 1 more to the 0. That means the 78, if I add 1 to 0, 1, and then the 7 and the 8 change to 100. Now, if I wanted to do, so my answer would be 100. If I wanted to do a number line, draw the number line. Draw your 3 tick marks. And we're going to ask ourselves, well, what 2 hundreds does 78 fall between? Well, I know that one of those hundreds is 100. And then the front of it is going to be 0 because there isn't another 100 before that. Halfway point is 50. And so now we're going to plot it. Let's just say that it goes right about here. So I'm going to put 78 right there on the number line. And by looking at my number line, I can see that 78 is closer to 100. So it will round to 100. All right, so let's do one more using a 2-digit number. Let's say I want to use the number, let's use the number 42. So 42, again, there's no hundreds place, so we got to put that invisible 0 and change the color. So that way I don't have to draw the lines. Invisible 0. Okay? Visible 0 is that yellow 0 there. I'm going to change back to my purple. And it says, poem again says, find the place, which would be my hundreds place. Look next door, 5 or bigger, add 1 more, 4 or less, let it rest. So the 4 is 4 or less, so the 0 stays the same, but everything else becomes a 0 too. And so 42 will round down to 0. If I use my number line, I have the same 3 tick marks that I did a minute ago. My 200s that it falls between are 0 and 100. My halfway point is 50. And then I plot 42 on the number line. Say that it's right there. And by looking at it, I can see that 42 rounded to the nearest 100 will round down to 0. I'm going to do one more for the 3-digit number. It's the nearest. Change my color. Let's use blue. Alright, so let's use number 751. 751. Alright, so find the place. That's the 7. Look next door to the 5. 5 or bigger, add one more. So the 5 is telling the 7 to add one more to it, which means that 7 plus 1 is 8, and then 5 and 1 change to zeros, which means that 751 rounded to 800. So now let's plot that on the number line. Same 3 tick marks that we were using before. What 200s does 751 fall between? That's 700 and 800. Halfway point is 750. And then I'm going to plot 751. It's going to be really close to 750. Alright, and then we can see that that's closest to 800, so it rounds up on the number line to 800.